So we are right into the Bhagavad Gita. Before we talk about this chapter, which is incredible, observing the army, Shainya Darshan, those of you who are sitting on chairs, I'm going to do an experiment with you. It's a live experiment. If in your life you have ever experienced a natural disaster, like an earthquake, a flood, I just want you to stand up for a moment. Yeah, and stay standing up. If you've ever experienced a natural disaster in your life, yeah, some of you. Okay, stay standing up. Those of you who are sitting down, if in your life you've ever experienced someone very close in your family passing away, can you stand up? Okay? Some of you are still sitting. I think you need to go and see a psychologist. No, I'm joking. If you have ever experienced a major health challenge in your life, can you stand up? Okay, now I want you to look around at the room. Adversity, problems, obstacles, difficulties makes no discrimination. It happens to every single person. Would you agree with me? Yes. You can sit down then. What is the first thing that Arjuna is taught by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita? Everyone in this world will go through problems. Everyone in this world will go through difficulties. But you know what the world tells you? The world tells you, when you go through problems, try to leave the problems. Try to run away from the problems. Try to allay the immediate pain that the problems cause you. But Krishna now is going to give the first amazing teaching to Arjuna, which is, when problems come, don't try to leave the problems. Then what should you do? Learn from the problems. Please, please try to understand this. Battle of Kurukshetra is like the school of life. And the school of life is the school of hard knocks. And the first lesson that Krishna is giving to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita is you have to learn how to deal with problems. You've all heard of earthquakes, isn't it? Can you predict when an earthquake will take place? Can you predict where an earthquake will take place? Can you predict what scale the earthquake will be? But an earthquake could happen at any time. Dear friends, what Krishna is teaching Arjuna in the first chapter is there is something called life quakes. There will be times in your life when things will happen which were completely unexpected. When an earthquake comes, it's so discouraging because everything that had been built up in one moment is destroyed. When an earthquake comes, everything is destroyed in such a way that the people there are thinking, how will I rebuild my life from here? Earthquakes will happen in each one of our lives, and they're called life quakes. Maybe it will come in the form of relationships. Maybe you'll lose someone. Maybe someone will pass away. Maybe a relationship will break. Maybe a friendship will be severed. Lifequake. Maybe it will be a natural disaster, as some of you experience. Maybe it will be something in the world, a war, as many people have experienced. Maybe it will be to do with your career and finances, some immediate or sudden change of fortune. Maybe it will be something to do with your physical or mental health. I remember this time of year because 6 years ago, around this time, one of my good friends here, which many of you knew, Janaki Nath, 31, he had some stomach pains. Went to the hospital for a checkup, thought it was a stomach upset, a food bug, and they told him, "Sir, you have stage 4 cancer." Lifequake. He lived for 5 more years. Shall I tell you something amazing? He was living here and he was leaving the world, and he said, "You know what? These 5 years have been the best 5 years of my life. I had the most fun. I built the best friendships. I made my greatest contribution to the world in these 5 years. And I had the deepest spiritual realizations and insights in these 5 years." And where did it all start from? A lifequake. I'm not standing here in front of you today as a motivational speaker. I'm trying to share with you wisdom that breathes. If we learn how to deal with problems, our life will change immensely. This is what Arjuna is saying to Krishna. "Na cha shaknomya vastatum brahmeti vachame manaha nimitani cha pashyami viparitani Keshava." Arjuna is saying, I am now unable to stand here any longer. I'm forgetting myself. My mind is reeling. I see only causes of misfortune. Oh Krishna, killer of the Keshi. How many of you feel like this when you go through a problem? You think, I can't stand here any longer. I can't move forward. We think pain and problems is basically failure. We think pain and problems is the end of my life. We think pain and problems means I can't move forward from here and have beauty in my life again. We're thinking about pain and problems in completely the wrong way. Pain and problems are the beginning. If you can turn those pains and problems into purpose and progress. This is the art of life. Did they ever teach you in school how to deal with these things? Did they? You learn at school, and me too, every single subject under the sun, from geology to graphic design. But did they tell you how to deal with lifequakes? Did they tell you how to deal with problems? They didn't. And therefore, what do most people do in the world? When pains and problems come, they break down. But Krishna is saying to Arjuna, you don't need to run away. You don't need to leave the battlefield. You don't need to think that this pain and misfortune is the end of your life. Rather, I want you to stay on the battlefield, and I want you to learn from these pains and problems and turn these pains and problems into purpose and progress. And that is exactly what Arjuna does. And therefore, the first lesson of life, the first lesson in the school of life, when you face problems, the world told you, try to leave the problems. But Krishna is telling you, learn from the problems. Because that pain comes for a reason. We look up at God and say, God, change my situation. But God is looking down at us and saying, but I sent that situation so you change yourself. When we come across problems, we can look up at God and say, why is this happening to me? Or we can ask a more progressive question, what am I supposed to learn from this? Some people in this world will go through problems. But if you, like Arjuna, learn the art, you won't just go through problems, you will grow through problems. And this is the first major teaching of Krishna. Hare